There are two trees at the end of the walkway to the lodge I'm staying in here in Craftsbury Sculling Center. And I walk past them every day, every single day for 2 weeks before I really notice them. Every day, multiple times a day, same path, same trees. On my day off, I finally saw them. They have this gorgeous skirt or ring of leaves and flowers around the base. They are beautiful. They have been beautiful the whole time. They were beautiful on day 1 and beautiful on day 14 when I finally saw them. I just never stood there long enough to admire their beauty. Greetings and welcome to the Elevated Flo Playbook. I'm your host, Coach Flo, the Black Rowing Queen. The Elevated Flo Playbook is where I share my expertise, my passion, and my experiences as a coach and as an athlete in an effort to help high-achieving women of color who are current or former athletes themselves go from stressed, burnt out, and overwhelmed to mentally and physically at peace without having to change jobs or escape on vacation. The Elevated Flo Playbook is a series of solo episodes of the Elevated Flo podcast, where I spotlight elite and everyday female athletes of color, mostly over 40, sharing how they elevate their game and their flow in sports, wellness, work, and life. I really want you to hold on to the part of me helping women go from stressed, burnt out, and overwhelmed to mentally and physically at peace without having to change jobs or escape on vacation. Because I have been here in Vermont for the last 3 weeks, and everybody kept saying the same thing. Well, you're in Vermont. Must be nice. Enjoy your vacation. Let me tell you what my vacation looks like. Up at 5:30 a.m., coaches meeting at 6:45 a.m., on the water by 7:30 a.m. at the latest, coaching until 8:45, breakfast at 9 a.m., class at 10 a.m., either doing video review and erg talk, a strength training for sculler session, and then back on the water by 11:10 to 12:45. Then lunch at 1, another activity or class like mountain biking at 2, then back on the water either as a safety launch driver for the optional row or coaching a private session. Long days every day for 3 camps back to back. This is not a vacation. That is work. Then I have 48 hours off and then 2 more camps back to back. I will go home this weekend feeling more at peace than any vacation escape ever left me. And today I want to talk to you about why. Here's what I want. Here's what I know about you, because I have been you. You are tired in a way that sleep alone does not fix. You are counting down to your next PTO like a rescue helicopter. You've got the resort picked out. You have an idea of the outfits you want to wear, the excursions you want to experience, and all the things. And you are going to spend 7 days doing absolutely nothing, or things that will make you feel even more tired afterwards. And you're going to feel like you need a vacation from your vacation. And then you're going to go back home. And by Wednesday of the following week, your shoulders are going to be tight and back up around your ears. You know exactly what I'm describing. So let me say this plainly. A vacation removes you from your life for a week. Nature changes what your body does inside your life. Let me say that again for those in the back that didn't hear me. A vacation removes you from your life for a week. Nature changes what your body does inside your life. Those are 2 different things. One is an escape. The other is a repair. I am not resting in Vermont. Honestly, I'm working harder than I work when I'm at home, because aside from the schedule that I just outlined, I'm still working with my private clients online. But I have mostly been working outside on the water, surrounded by trees and loons, in the sun, in the wind, and sometimes even in the rain. And my nervous system came all the way down anyway. That is the piece nobody tells you about. Your body is not asking you to stop moving. Your body is asking you to change your environment. Blue and green spaces do something to us that a hotel room can't do. Water and land and sky and weather, being in it, not looking at a picture of it. And you don't have to fly to Vermont to get it. Stay with me because I am going to prove that to you before this episode is over. And I'm going to use other people's words to do it. I asked a question of the coaches and athletes that I worked alongside of while I've been here in Vermont. One question, same question every time. When are you in your flow state? Not what is your best time, not what are your goals. When does your body go quiet and your mind stop chasing? One question, when are you in your flow state? And although all of them are competitive athletes, nobody said when I win, nobody said when I hit a PR, nobody said when I'm the best one out there. They all talked about where they were and who they were with. Water came up first, and it came up over and over again. There is a reason. When you are in a single or even a team boat on flat water at 6 or 7:30 in the morning, there is no noise, no email, no Slack, no Zoom, no meeting invite, no performance review. There is the sound of your oars entering the water and the sound of the boat running underneath you. Your body understands that before your brain does. I have talked about my nature mirror method on this show before. The water shows you exactly what you are doing. If you are rushing, the boat tells you. If you're gripping too tightly, the boat tells you. If you are fighting it, the boat gets slower, not faster. You cannot muscle a boat into moving well. You can only stop interfering with it for it to flow. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you were near water on purpose? Not driving over a bridge, not a screensaver on your phone or computer. On purpose. White Rock Lake, Bachman Lake, a creek, a pond, a city fountain, a beach, anything. If the answer is a number of months, I want you to sit with that. Listen to what Emma has to say.
I'm in my flow state most often when I'm relaxed, near a body of water, which is helpful for rowing. Also, when I get to work out, whether I'm on the water or on the erg or weight training, just kind of by myself, I get into my flow state.
Now, I want you to hear how Kevin describes it.
I would say I'm in my flow state when I'm just able to be on the water and then just feel like I'm just in tune with the boat itself and in tune with my body itself in the water, and being able to just have confidence in myself that I'm able to just place the blade and just push and know that it's going to be able to carry me through the race and stuff like that when I'm rowing.
Awesome. Thank you. Both Emma and Kevin said it. On the water. Next, Isaiah is a young man from the Bahamas, and he has probably never used the phrase nervous system regulation before, but he describes it perfectly.
I'm mostly in my flow state when I'm either rowing, looking at the scenery, especially in Vermont, and when I'm on a watercraft, just skipping across the water. That's my favorite place.
Thank you. That's his favorite place. So much so that he joined the Maritime Academy. He did not say that's my favorite workout. He said that's my favorite place. Place matters. Now, if you're taking notes, write that down. Now, here is where it got interesting, because the second thing people described was not a place at all. It was a state of being. And I want to be careful here because I could very easily turn this into an episode of Go to Vermont and You Will Be Healed. That's not the truth, and that's not what I'm going for. And that would not help you at all. You are in Dallas, California, New York, and abroad. It's August, and if you're in Dallas, it's more than 100 degrees, and you have back-to-back meetings until 4, maybe even 5 o'clock every day. So let me give you the version of this that actually works on any given Tuesday. Julia describes Flo as being completely out of her head. Listen to her.
Okay, I'd say I'm in my flow state when I'm completely out of my head and just kind of locked into what we're doing, but not overly focused, if that makes sense. Just kind of, I call it just like staring off into space where your eyes are kind of glazed over and you're just doing the thing. And I think that's when I am in flow state.
Awesome.
It can be on the erg, the water, anything. Usually on the water. But yes, just kind of zoned out, but zoned in too, if that makes sense.
Zoned out and zoned in. That's exactly right. That is not distraction. That is the opposite of distraction. That is the state where your body is doing the work and your mind finally stops supervising it. I know that every athlete listening knows that feeling, and I would bet that most of you have not felt that in years. Now, this next one is the reason I'm telling you this truth today instead of selling you a plane ticket or a pipe dream. Coach Richmond told me he gets there on the earth, indoors, in a room, no scenery, no sunrise, no lake, simply on a rowing machine.
I think I'm in my flow state when I really get on the erg, and I think I get just this feeling of just, I feel at peace, and it just feels really nice to me, and there's like no place I'd rather be in that moment, and it feels good to go fast. So I love to go fast, and I think that's when I really feel it.
He said, there's no place I would rather be, on an erg in a room. So here's what I need you to take from that. Nature is the fastest way. It's not the only way. The mechanism underneath all of this is your breath and your effort meeting each other. That is the exhale step of my breathe framework. And it is the very first thing that I teach because nothing else works until your nervous system knows that it's safe. You have to learn to breathe and, more importantly, exhale. You can access that on the water in Vermont. You can access it on an erg in your garage. You can even access it walking the loop at White Rock Lake before the sun is all the way up, or at any park or green space in your local area. Where you cannot access it is through your phone or computer. The more you move, the longer you'll be able to move. And the more you move outside, the faster your body remembers how to calm down. Now, I have to tell you the part of this that I've been sitting with for 3 weeks. The last time I coached here at Craftsbury, a camper wrote something in her feedback at the end of her camp session that stayed with me for more than 2 years. She noticed that I was the only person of color here coaching. And she said she wondered what it felt like for me to look out to a sea of white faces. She was an older woman because there were no students at those camps at that time of year. She noticed and she said something. That stayed in my mind for a long time. That is often my experience. But what I wondered was why it was important for her to point that out, and if it was more about how she felt about being coached by a woman of color than it was about me being in this environment. So I came back this summer, and I knew the first 2 weeks were going to be different. The first week was Arshay Cooper's camp, and he personally chose 20 Black and brown athletes and 1 white athlete from around the world. Then there were 14 other athletes outside of his group that were also part of that camp week. 20 Black and brown athletes, 20 more than I saw 2 years prior. The second week, 3 groups of athletes of color came in, 5 from Xavier University in New Orleans, the first HBCU varsity rowing team in history, a group of athletes from a middle school in New York, and a group of students from a rowing program in Chicago. I stood there on the grass and helped athletes on the dock, and my soul smiled as I looked out and saw us. And I want to tell you what my body did, because this is the whole reason I'm making this episode. I exhaled differently. Same lake, same trees I kept walking past, same schedule, same early morning, same long days, and my body was doing something it had not done here before. Listen to Arshay because he shares it precisely. I am here with Arshay Cooper, #1 national best-selling author
of Let Me Be Real With You.
Let Me Be Real With You. He has a Most Beautiful Thing movie and book that also won an award, right?
Yes, won many awards.
Many awards. Okay, so Arshay Cooper, can you tell me, when are you in your flow state?
You know, I think when I think of flow state, right away what comes to mind is being around watering grass and growing, experiencing environmental wellness, peace. But I think my absolute flow state is when I'm around young people who need us. And especially when we come to a week like this, where we take young people from all around the world and we create a world that reflects the world we want to live in. And young people are inspiring me, we're inspiring them. I have to say we have pretty much learned more from them than they probably learned from us. But I am absolutely in my flow state when I'm around them. They inspire me, they are the future. And the words that usually don't come out normally comes out when I'm looking in their eyes. And so that's the flow state for me.
Did you catch what he did? He named the water, he named the grass, he named the environment. Then he said my absolute flow state. My absolute flow state is when I'm around young people who need us. He touched on 4 of the 8 types of wellness he describes in his national best-selling book, Let Me Be Real With You. In essence, place and the environment gets you partway where you need to be, and belonging gets you the rest of the way. That's why representation matters so much. In the same vein of being around people, listen to what Coach X had to say.
Yeah, so I'm in my flow state when I'm with either my family or my friends or my athletes and, just yapping, just talking, about different things, or maybe we need advice for something, or maybe I ask advice for my family members. And I can talk for a long time, right? But that's when I'm in my flow state. I love rowing, but I think that's just kind of the byproduct. It's more about, the connection that you make with others and learning from others. And I never try to act like I'm a know-it-all. I only am a student of the game. So I even learn from the youth over here, right? Even as they clown me right here. But I love it, and that's my flow state.
Awesome. Thank you.
For sure.
Now, here's the hard part. I have 2 more camps before I go home, and there may not be a single person of color in either one of them, as evidence of the people that started arriving this past Saturday. By the time you hear this episode, I will have met and coached the first camp, but I still won't know about the second camp. What I do know is all of the coaches of color and all the athletes that were here the last 2 weeks will be gone, and the energy already feels different. But I know what it feels like because I've done it here before. Same water, same trees, same boats, and a different body. Because you are the only one, some part of you never fully sits down. Some part of you stays up on watch, reading the room, managing how you're being read, deciding whether that comment was what you think it was, deciding whether or not to say something about it. That's not in your head. That is your nervous system doing exactly what it's built to do. Elevated woman, I need you to hear me because this is not about rowing. You have been running that second version for 20 years in the building, in the meetings, on the calls, in the office where nobody looks like you and nobody has ever asked you what it costs. You have been told that what you are feeling is stress, that you need better time management, that you should try meditating or yoga or getting a massage. It's not only stress. Your body has been holding a post it was never relieved from. That is why vacation does not work. You can fly your body to Cancun and it will still be on watch because it does not actually know it's off duty. Wellness spaces were not built for us. Rowing was not built for us. Hiking, retreats, the outdoors. None of it was built with us in mind. That is exactly why I do what I do. And it is exactly why I keep showing up on docks where I am the only one. I want others to join, and I want to be an example to the next generation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that being the only one is free. It costs something. It costs you at the nervous system level, which means finding your people is not a nice to have. It's a physiological requirement. Again, a physiological requirement. That is one way we can decrease the preventable diseases that are killing Black women in record numbers. And that is exactly the reason I got into this field of health and wellness to begin with. Now, let me come back to those 2 trees that I talked about when I started this episode. I've walked past them for 2 weeks. They were right in front of me. I was in the most beautiful place I've ever worked. And I was so locked into the mission that I missed what was right in front of me. It took 48 hours for me to be off, for me to see all their beauty. That is the difference between a nervous system at peace and attention that is still on task. I had the first one for 2 weeks. I did not get the second one until I stopped. Here is what my 48 hours actually gave me. I saw the trees. I observed the flowers differently. I was in awe of the rainbow in the sky after the rain. I took intentional deep breaths and I sat by the water in silence. I reflected on how comfortable I felt over the last 2 weeks. And later, I prepared myself for the shift that I know will happen this week. So let me turn the question on you now. The same one I asked all the coaches and athletes here at Craftsbury. When are you in your flow state? And I want the real answer, not the one you would give in a meeting. When was the last time your body went quiet? When was the last time you were near water on purpose? When was the last time you were in a room where you did not have to explain yourself before you could relax? If you have to go back months or even years to answer that, then you already know what this episode is asking of you. You do not need a vacation. You need your nervous system back. And that is not a mindset shift. That is a practice. It is where my Elevate framework starts, and it is what I teach every single day. If you are ready to start, get on the wait list for the 5-day Elevated Flow Challenge. 5 days, small, specific, doable, even in the summer, even with your calendar. We are going to get you outside, get you breathing, get your shoulders back down off your ears and relaxed. The link is in the show notes and in the description. And if you want to get in the boat with us before the challenge starts or stay in the boat after those 5 days are up, come join the Elevated Woman Inner Circle over at Patreon, our Afterflow. That is where the deeper conversations live, and that is where you will find women who already know exactly what I described today because they have lived it too. Come get in the boat. Until next time, this is Coach Flo signing off. Remember to find your zone and elevate your flow. Peace.
1, 2, 3, 4.